What's up? J Street Moto here, and welcome to the channel. This is the second part of a three-part kind of mini-series of David, Juan, and I having a conversation about the trip. Specifically, we're looking at day 10 today in terms of what video you're watching, and that was when we rode from Nephi, Utah up to Bozeman, Montana. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please feel free to do so. Click the notification bell, and of course, if you like the video, like the video. Also, the fundraiser is still open, so you're able to donate to that by clicking the link that's in the description for this video or in the comments. Otherwise, enjoy the conversation.
The outcome of that day. So what happened that night when we got to the hotel?
Oh, we had a fantastic meal.
We got to the hotel. We had a great rooms. We had a fantastic fucking meal. If we had been another hour and a half later, would that have happened?
No,
Probably
because the first time David and I, if you remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but in the first trip that we took, we stayed at the exact same spot we stayed when David and I went the first time. And when we pulled in there, now granted it was during COVID, but when we pulled in there that night, there was one of the restaurants in the hotel still open when we got there that late. And it was that little cafe thing that was out in the middle that had a very limited selection in terms of food. So we were like, oh, let's get there and get into one of the restaurants that makes sense. And we don't want to add an hour to our day. That's really what it was. But, I mean, we got to see the Hoover Dam.
I'm giving David shit.
I know. You're giving all of us shit. Because we didn't get to see it. What you saw when we pulled in there is more than what David and I saw when we went the first time. Because we didn't make it past you know, when you come down that little hill, there's that complex over to the left. Literally, cop cars pulled out in front of us and would not let us keep going, and we had to pull in. And they're like, you got to turn around. You cannot go any further. And we're like, oh, okay. And so we turned around. So we all saw more than what we saw the first time.
I will say this. I'm appreciative for seeing it. It is definitely worth it. After traveling about 700 miles that day?
No.
And having to walk up those steps.
You're like, oh man, I really,
and
this
walk
is not...
across the dam. I was like, what in the hell did we do?
Well, and I also should say this, and I'll throw David under the bus for a second with myself. Neither David or I are fans of heights. Right? You're not a fan of heights.
David doesn't have the same problem that you have.
No, it's different. I'm a pilot, motherfucker.
I know you are, but that's different. That is different. That's different than you walking up to the edge of something and looking down.
Absolutely
and so
different.
David and I both have issues with heights. And so for us, just going out and walking out to the Hoover Dam and standing there and looking over, we're both like leaning back more towards where the road's
meanwhile, I'm hanging.
And Juan's hanging over like, hey man, take a picture of me. I'm going to climb over this rail and hold on. Take a picture of me. You know, and David and I are like, nah, that ain't us. You know, but so all right.
All right.
I had completely forgotten about the Hoover Dam.
Next one.
Did both of y'all answer that?
Yeah,
we did.
Okay. All right. So here's the next one. And this is an interesting one. Who would you bring on this ride if you could? So that's out of everyone in your life, who would you bring on this ride if you could? Living, dead, whatever. Who would you have brought along with you? And why? Now they're both sitting back and thinking. But that's a freaking powerful question right there.
Powerful question.
And I will start and say, I absolutely would have brought my dad on this ride. That's who I would have brought.
Okay.
Because he would have appreciated it. He would have embraced the feeling that was commensurate with kind of how the three of us approach things. Just fly by the seat of your pants and do it, see what you see, and just go with it. That would have been Dad, and I would have brought him with me on this ride.
I think for me, I would have brought my daughter Madeline.
Outstanding. That's a good answer.
And the reason is Madeline was always the one who never wanted to get into an uncomfortable place. But after she did her internship in Wyoming for 32 days,
She got used to being uncomfortable.
She got used to being uncomfortable. I think she could have and would have appreciated this trip. But to set the record straight, that's a question that you're asking me. But moving forward, my trips are all about us. So I'm not bringing anybody on the trip.
Oh, I get that, and I'm not talking about. I'm not asking
I
that
know.
question in a
But
way
I'm
to
just-
say,
no,
hey,
no.
we're going to add people to the group.
No, but I'm just
I'm
saying-
saying, who
But
would
she-
you bring with you if
It
you
would've
were
been- it
gonna
would've been
to
Matt.
do this trip
would've been
again? Who would you bring with? Who would have appreciated it the most? All right, you, David.
Quite honestly, for me, it's a toss-up between either my wife or my dad. So it's that weird
I get that.
dichotomy of
I get that.
do I bring along the guy that spawned me, or would I want to bring along the woman who puts up with my shit on a daily basis? On a daily basis, because she does. And quite honestly, either or for me, either my. So I could bring along my dad, because if I brought along my wife, she would be on her own. She's got.
Yeah, Desi could ride that ride.
She's got her own Harley. She loves to ride, and I think both my wife and my father would both absolutely love and appreciate the experience of what we did. If they could do it long term, over 15 or so days that we did it, or if we broke it up into parts, might be part of the equation. But for me, it's my wife or my dad.
That's I get that. So real quick, my most memorable moment of this trip was honestly Essence Kitchen and Bar.
Oh God, yeah.
That was the thing that stood out the most to me, because that was the only point in this entire 15 days where someone left all three of us
Speechless.
utterly speechless.
Mm-hmm.
Flabbergasted might be a better word. I mean,
Complete random.
we walk into this random place, we meet these really cool people, we have a couple of drinks, we have what in my opinion was the best salad we had the entire trip.
Yeah.
Phenomenal meal.
And the owner ends up walking up to us and talking to us, and they're like, hey,
Well, quite honestly, you need to set up the stage a little bit more.
I do. So and I did. Well, I didn't. I might have.
you
I might
did.
have in day
You said
9.
in one of the other
So I mean, you're talking about 3 guys walking into a very nice restaurant.
During lunch.
During lunch, but
We were
we're still
clearly
walking
underdressed.
out. We're still walking in there, and I don't know about y'all, but I was wearing the same pants for 4 days.
Yeah.
David was too. I think Juan was too. We were wearing the same long sleeve T-shirts for at least 2 days. So, and we've been in the desert for 6 hours. So we weren't the cleanest of their patrons. And I'm sure we probably had a scent to us. And they welcomed us with open arms. And then the owner of the place comes by the table. She's talking to us and ends up making a donation from her and from the restaurant that just left all of us speechless. So that was one of my most memorable moments.
A donation to where, Jim?
Oh, let's talk about the fundraiser. To Susan G. Komen. It's still open right now. The link will be in the description of this video. If you want to donate, please click that link and donate. It'll count towards our $15,000 goal. And she did that, like literally on the spot. The second thing that probably stood out most in my mind was honestly the end of this day. Because today we're heading to Bozeman, Montana. we had randomly picked this hotel
Lewis
based on
and
a restaurant.
Clark.
Lewis and
Lewis and
Clark.
Clark.
We had picked this Lewis and Clark motel in Bozeman, Montana, based solely on the proximity to a place that we thought was going to serve some game meat, because we were like, hey, we're in Montana, let's eat elk or something for dinner, you know. And we pull into Bozeman, we hit the hotel. It's this 2-story little like non-assuming motel on the side of the road. You go into the lobby and it doesn't feel anything like what you would expect when you look at it. Right? We met the owner, who happened to be the daughter of the girl of the guy that was the architect that built it and created it. And when she asked us, because it was obvious, I think it was obvious to me. Was it obvious to you that we were the outliers there? Because everybody that walked in, she knew their names, and she's like, exactly. And I'm like, and she's like, how did you find me? And I'm like, well, we were looking at this restaurant. I'm not going to name the restaurant because of what I'm getting ready to say. But this restaurant is within walking distance of your hotel, and that's why we picked you. And she's like, well, I'm glad you're here, but I'd like to tell you that I've never eaten there, and none of the guests that I've ever had have ever had anything good to say about that restaurant. And we were all...
But you should go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She recommended the Montana Ale House.
Yep.
She's like, you need to go here. It's about 3 miles away. And all three of us were kind of looking at each other like, I really don't get back on the bike. And
do you have Uber?
Exactly.
And
now
then
one question.
in
Do
Bozeman.
you have Uber in
Bozeman?
Bozeman? Because there was no Uber in Nephi, which is where we stayed the night before. There was no Uber there, but there was Uber in Bozeman, and they took us to this place. What happened at that restaurant probably is the second thing that stands out most in my mind. Us meeting that woman and her husband, and her telling us about her sister who had breast cancer, her wanting to donate like on the spot, reaching in her purse and pulling cash out, and I'm like, no. I'll send you the link, you can donate there. And then her buying us a round of something that we all knew what we had just paid for. Or what David had just bought, because David bought the first round.
Which was pretty expensive.
And we're like, oh shit. And I remember going back to the table when they sat us, and the bartender running up and saying, hey, don't order another round. There's one coming for you and she's buying it. Y'all remember that?
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna go pee, I'm gonna go talk to her, because she doesn't need to buy us a round of that. You know?
Yep.
And that led to more conversation with her.
And so what was it that we were drinking?
I don't remember, because you were the one that picked it.
It was Colonel E.H. Taylor.
Which one?
Single barrel.
Single barrel.
It was a single barrel.
It was E.H. Taylor. It was E.H. Taylor single barrel, and we all had doubles on the rocks. And
so
twice.
For you bourbon lovers out there, it was available at this particular establishment.
It was.
It was extremely well priced.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't outrageously priced. It was what it should be. And I went back and talked to her and told her, hey, look, you don't have to buy us a round of what we had. And it surprised me when she just kind of looked at me. This older woman just looked at me and she was like, I heard you talking about bourbon. I know you know bourbon. I know bourbon too, and I know exactly what I'm freaking buying.
That's awesome.
So just shut up and accept the drink,
and
basically. But then she asked me the question, when I stopped by there, she asked me the question. She's like, hey, where are you staying tomorrow night? Because all we had talked about was getting to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And I'm like, oh, we're going to be in Bismarck, North Dakota. And right across the opening for the bar was another couple. And that guy pipes up and he's like, hey, man, I'm from Bismarck. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, no. He's like, where are you staying? And I'm like, we don't know yet. We'll figure it out at lunchtime tomorrow, because I've explained to y'all how we do these trips. And the dude was like, well, look, I'm a part owner in a sports bar and restaurant that's literally right off the interstate and right across the street from a Holiday Inn and Suites. And if you call and give them my name, they'll get you in. And if you eat at the restaurant, I got your drinks. And I was like, really?
Yep.
And he's like, yeah.
And then he ended up meeting us.
He ended up meeting us.
He did.
This
We
night.
went-
This
it
night. He met us at the bar and hung out with us and got to know us, and we got to know him, and we ate and drank with him.
This trip, without getting too political, I think made us all realize because we're not all the same politically in this group, and we don't give a crap in this group.
Exactly.
But I think we've realized in traveling across America, there are so many more of us that are in the middle who don't give a fuck where you lie, left or right of center. It's just all about being good people to one another. And we have met so many good people each stop. Each stop along the way, we've met fantastic people who were very welcoming, very appreciative, very happy to talk about their corner of the United States.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I mean,
it's
that's it. But those are the two moments that stand out the most for me. So here's the question for you two. Someone asked me what was missing from your bike for this trip. Your wife's boobs was the answer. I love that. I absolutely love that. What's the one thing that was missing from your bike on this trip that you would have added?
A luggage rack. Hey, I got a question.
What's that?
So
Ask the question.
So there were so many memorable things that happened that blew my mind. I'm going to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll answer it once you guys are finished.
Okay. Quit looking at the video.
What is the small thing that you took away from this trip that you will do differently than you've ever done before?
The small thing I took from the trip that I would do different.
And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll help you by answering the question, and then maybe that'll give you.
Yeah,
a
you
chance.
answer it, Papa Bear.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, Fluffy.
All right.
Come on, Fluff.
whatever you want to call me. Pittsburgh Rare. For those of you,
Yes.
For those of you that have never had Pittsburgh Rare, I'm going to shout out to David. Okay, David knows steak, and David knows how a steak is supposed to be prepared.
Pittsburgh Rare is some legit
And
stuff
I am
right
going
there,
to
dude.
tell you
I'm
that
not
every
kidding.
single restaurant that I have gone to have a steak since we went on this trip, I have asked them, can you prepare, do you know how to prepare Pittsburgh Rare? Because after eating Pittsburgh Rare on this trip with David, what was the name of that steakhouse?
And honestly,
Oh, that was
it was
at
the Italian place.
It was at the Italian place in the casino in Henderson.
No,
that was the best place. That was where you tried it.
No. It was the fancy restaurant in the Holiday Inn.
Oh,
In
yes.
Bismarck.
Yes.
Well, but that's
Okay,
where you.
both.
Wait a minute.
That's the first
That's
time
where
I ever
you
had
ordered it
Pittsburgh
that
Rare.
way.
That's
Okay.
where,
But
that's
you
where you
tried
ordered
it.
Correct.
You
tried
it
at the
Henderson at the casino.
But the point was, every time now I have, since this trip, I ask for Pittsburgh Rare, and like David warned me, a lot of places think that they can do Pittsburgh Rare.
They've got to have the
they
the
can't.
equipment.
Okay.
They've got to have.
But about 1 in 5 times, okay, I will get a real Pittsburgh Rare steak. And I owe that to David because I've never had Pittsburgh Rare in my life until I had steak with him. And I will never ask for anything other than Pittsburgh Rare moving forward. So
There you
that's
go.
my one small thing.
That's
that
your
has
one small
changed.
thing that changed
Nice.
your life.
Nice.
That's
it
it.
changed how you. It changed how you're going to be.
It's the way I will order
Okay.
my steak for
All
the
right.
rest of my
Now
life.
I understand the
Honestly,
question.
Okay.
that's-
All right. So you answer the next one. You answer it next.
It's there's so many little things that pop up in quite honestly, a trip of this magnitude. So some people do these trips, fairly regular every year, every 2 years. They travel across country. But quite honestly, I don't know that everybody has the appreciation for it that we do. And I have no way to justify that other than our experiences. But it's for me, it's a small thing such as appreciation for Mother Nature, because we would plan and we would plan and we would look at our we would plan every day, look at our apps, and we're like, well, from 8 to 9 a.m. we have a window, and we can do this, and it's just it's the realization that no matter how much we plan in our lives,
You are infinitesimally small.
we have absolutely no fucking control over all the other mass influences, whether you know it or not. Quite honestly, whether it's in business, whether it's in government, whether it's in just general life at large, how little control you actually have over your life. So we're out. We're in California, and we're like, we are absolutely going to see the Pacific Ocean. We're
riding the PCH.
we are going to ride the PCH. We are going to do this. So we're in Sonoma County, which is right on the PCH, and we're trying to plan our route, and then we start looking at weather, and it's like, it's and having. Not because this makes a difference, because I have no freaking clue. Being born in California and having traveled to California as a kid and having traveled to the San Francisco area as a teenager and hearing my dad's experiences living there and my cousins, and I know from the collective experience, not from my own, that the weather here just sucks.
It's going to be shitty.
It's going to be shitty in the morning, and it doesn't matter where you are on the Pacific Coast Highway. If you're in any vicinity near or even thinking about being close to San Francisco, the mornings suck. You're going to have fog. It's just going to suck. And so I know this, but I'm like trying to be positive and trying to work it. And so we get up that morning that we're leaving, and the wives head out on their own, and we start riding. And quite honestly, in Sonoma County, we leave and we're like, this is
The weather's
nice.
great. Thank you so much for watching part 2 of day 10. I'm hoping you're enjoying this so far. If you are, please go watch part 3 of day 10. Again, if you're liking the content, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Thank you. Ride safe.